Grayson, I know on this hour of the program, well, I guess this is the only hour of the program. In this hour, I know we're supposed to talk OU football and recruiting, and we certainly will. But would you begrudge me if I began the show today by making fun of idiots?
I will not begrudge you one bit. I thought you were about to surprise me and start talking about the NBA.
No, certainly not. I would never do that.
I thought hell was about to freeze over.
Yeah, no, hell will freeze over sooner than that, I promise you. But I always enjoy making fun of idiots. And no doubt that is a pastime that we all can unite around. I know many of you on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line love to partake in making fun of idiots. And the Dallas Mavericks are run by idiots. I guess we are kind of venturing into NBA here.
Let's go. Come on.
I read this tweet from this guy named Dan. I don't know how to say his last name. It's spelled W-O-I-K-E. Woke? Wookie? I don't know. But he tweeted this. I will read it to you verbatim. Jason Kidd, who is, of course, the head coach of the Dallas Mavericks, says that, quote, some are comparing this to Babe Ruth, which is kind of cool.
I saw this.
In regards to the Luka trade, which is pretty wild considering how that story goes. I imagine you're enough of a sports historian to know the Babe Ruth story, right?
Yeah, and I think Jason Kidd is also not very informed enough to know that the Mavericks are the Boston Red Sox.
Correct. He is not the Yankees in this scenario. I don't even know who the manager of the Yankees would have been at that time. But he's not the manager of the Yankees in this scenario.
Oh, no.
Truly hilarious stuff.
I got to say, though, Luka dropping 45 in his first game back in Dallas last night was awesome.
I saw somebody on Twitter say that's the most depressed 45 in NBA history.
Bro, I mean, he looked so sad. It almost broke my heart. I saw the video of him watching the tribute video that they gave him, and I almost cried. Carry on, Parker.
And you're a Lakers fan, aren't you?
Well, see, I grew up in Dallas.
Okay.
So, no, the Mavericks are my second team. The only thing that makes that whole situation even stomachable for me is that they traded him to my team. Which, by the way, going to the Lakers-Thunder game on Tuesday night was awesome.
Ask me who's tied for 9th at the Masters right now in other news.
Who is tied for 9th in the Masters?
67-year-old Fred Couples, baby.
Man.
Fred Couples, you are not a hoe. He eagled 14. Holed out from 190 yards out for eagle. He shot a 1 under 71 in the first round. I know where my rooting interests lie the rest of the week. I will be rooting for Fred Couples.
I kind of am with you here. Now, what's Steely's stance on Fred Couples? Like, is that somebody Steely's going to start rooting for too?
I'd hope so.
Okay.
I mean, that's probably the only guy older than Steely in the field. So Fred is of his generation.
I was going to let you make that joke because I was about to.
Well, I guess Bernard longer too. So, yeah, Fred, Steely will be rooting for Fred to win one for the geriatrics. I have no doubt. Sooner Bump said, Parker, my butt puckered right there when you said idiots. I thought Sooner Bump would be the next thing you said. No, Sooner Bump, but he did send in a hilarious text. Well,
y'all gotta start wording these texts different, man.
His opening text of the 2 o'clock hour was, "Good afternoon, boys. I just saw Devon Mitchell at CC's buffet." This is the unfortunate reality of
y'all are evil, man.
Yeah, this is unfortunately what happens when you have a fan base that is as rabid as Oklahoma's, and you put on too much weight and then hit the transfer portal. Is they will make jokes about your weight for years and decades to come.
Did you eat CC's pizza as a kid?
I never ate CC's pizza.
Bruh, what kind of childhood did you have?
Okay, is this a regional thing? Because I don't think we had CC's in Omaha.
Do you not have it in Nebraska?
Probably not.
Damn. You're missing out.
Really?
No. You really, but it was a childhood staple.
Okay, so kind
of absolutely crappy pizza.
So kind of like Chuck E. Cheese for some people. See,
yes.
I never went to Chuck E. Cheese, but What'd you give me that look for?
How have you never been to Chuck E. Cheese?
I have never been moved and or excited by giant animatronic rodents.
Oh, don't get me wrong. Chuck E. Cheese himself is one of the creepiest things on planet Earth. But your parents never had your one of your first 4 birthday parties at Chuck E. Cheese?
Never been there in my life.
My 1-year-old birthday party was at Chuck E. Cheese.
Hey, why? You were 1. It's not like you could appreciate that.
I don't know why. I was 1.
Oh, Mark and Blanchard said, I love me some Fred Couples, but he's like this every year. Expect a slow exit stage left after today. Shut up, Mark. Let me have my moment. Let me enjoy this while I can. When Fred Couples comes out tomorrow and shoots a 66, I'm going to run victory laps all evening on you. And I can do that because I live in Blanchard, too. I'll pull up. Monster Truck Guy says, only thing good at CC's is their little brownie things.
Incorrect. So the pizza there it's not good, but it's where everybody went as a kid. But I'll tell you what else is good. They have a cinnamon roll pizza.
A cinnamon roll pizza.
That is really good.
See, that sounds fantastic if it wasn't a place like CC's that we were talking about.
That's fair. That is fair, but it is good.
I'll take your word for it. I probably will never try it. A 405 listener says, as a kid, hell, my poor young adult self lives on CC's.
I probably haven't been to CC since I was 13.
Mark from Enid says, Parker's been in the devil's lettuce. That ain't true. I am completely sober right now. Never partaken of the devil's lettuce in my life. If I had, I probably would have wound up at CC's Pizza, don't you think?
That is valid.
Sooner Bump says, Parker, we're going to Chuck E. Cheese and battling it out on Pop-A-Shot and Skee-Ball.
And Skee-Ball, yes.
Skee-Ball? I'd get down with some Skee-Ball. I probably haven't played Skee-Ball since, junior prom, but...
Where did y'all go for junior prom?
The after party was at this place called Sempex back in Omaha, which is like...
Is that the Omaha version of, Dave & Buster's or something?
Kind of, yeah.
Okay.
There you go. 3-Star Porters says, their cinnamon rolls do more for me than sugars ever could. And he's not talking about actual sugar, folks.
Oh, I know.
I'm just glad you catch that, even as a poke.
I know what sugars was.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's get back to business. Let's talk OU football and a crootin. I went ahead and I threw in a FutureCast prediction yesterday, Grayson. A new FutureCast prediction in favor of Oklahoma. It hasn't been aggregated yet by that OU Crystal Ball Twitter account, which is kind of surprising because usually they aggregate those within a matter of minutes, if not hours. It's been a full, almost 24 hours, and I still haven't seen it aggregated. So I guess I just pulled that off pretty quietly, but showed up to Oklahoma's practice yesterday, and you know who was there among several other high-end prospects that Oklahoma's pursuing?
Who?
Think in-state. Think big name. Think a guy that was literally just on campus over the weekend.
The tackle. What's his name?
Cooper Hackett
from Fort Gibson.
Was back on campus. And it was at that point that I was like, okay, we're just going to roll with this. Already feel good about it. We're just going to drop the prediction. Because if you're showing up, and I know Fort Gibson isn't terribly far away, but 2 hours is 2 hours, right? And if you are showing up to campus on separate occasions in the span of 5 days, yeah, you're going to have to convince me. You're going to have to convince me that you're going somewhere else other than the University of Oklahoma.
I don't even show up to my alma mater that many times in that many days.
I know, and you're 45 minutes away.
Okay, it does not take 45 minutes to get up to Stillwater.
Well, I guess from Norman, yeah. Especially if you're dealing with traffic, it's probably a little lengthier.
On a good day, it's still about an hour 10.
Okay. Yeah, I remember going up there for the 2021, the 2019 game. Hit traffic then. 2021 game, fun story. That was a weekend I'll never forget.
Me too.
I have no doubt. We're probably talking about two entirely different reasons why we will never forget that weekend.
The reason you're talking about is one I'll never forget, too.
I had spent Thanksgiving with my family in Fayetteville, Arkansas, and so I actually drove into Stillwater from the east. So I drove through Siloam Springs, Kansas, Oklahoma, the town of Kansas. I stopped for lunch, got a burger in Inola, Oklahoma, then headed into Stillwater, watched the game. It was a great game. Didn't end the way that Sooner fans would have liked it to end. And then, of course, what happened the next day, we will remember for the rest of our lives. I don't know that any Oklahoma fan will ever be able to shake the memory of where they were when they found out that Lincoln Riley was leaving for USC.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of those things that's just kind of indelibly seared into your memory.
Back to the Cooper Hackett thing, though.
Yeah.
What made him come again?
I don't know, man. Like I haven't gotten the chance to get on the phone with him yet. I'm gonna have to inquire about that because, twice in 5 days. You're pretty dang serious about a place.
Mm-hmm.
If you're coming back twice in 5 days. Now, if you're taking a multi-day visit, maybe that means something, maybe it doesn't. I can think of many a player in years past that has taken a multi-day visit, which, by the way, there are some major multi-day visits happening right now at Oklahoma, which we will get into, and that we're talking about in great depth over at OUinsider.com, one of whom is Carter Scruggs, one of the top offensive tackle prospects in the nation.
Yeah, one of my favorites.
Yeah, but multi-day visits might indicate that a guy is legit high on a particular school, and it might just indicate he's making the most of the one time he's going to have to visit a place. For a guy like Carter Scruggs, he doesn't even have an OV set. Oklahoma would like to get an OV set while he's on campus, but this might very well be Carter Scruggs' last ever trip to Oklahoma. So, who knows? Who knows how that visit goes? But if you're taking two separate visits that close together, I feel pretty good about projecting Cooper Hackett into Oklahoma's 2027 class, especially because in addition to that, he hasn't really made it a secret that he's an OU guy and has always been one. Brian in Bixby asks the real question on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. If he commits, does Teddy get Recruiter of the Month?
You would have to imagine.
We will give him an honorary co-Recruiter of the Month title. That's what we'll do. If and when Cooper Hackett commits to Oklahoma, Teddy Lehman can split the distinction with another coach on Oklahoma's staff, probably Bill Bedenbaugh at that point. Because, man, I was talking to a source outside the Oklahoma bubble earlier this morning. They were saying, man, that Cooper Hackett kid, if there's a 5-star in the state of Oklahoma right now, it's him.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree with that assessment. I don't know if Cooper Hackett winds up a 5-star. I know he's already in 5-star territory for On3. They have him as the number 19 player in the nation in the 2027 cycle. But the thing that's so exciting about that kid is you look at the football tape, it's pretty good. There's a lot to like. But then you see what he does on the basketball court. And that athleticism.
That's
at
what
6'7".
That's what I talked about on Monday.
Yep. That has all the makings of a guy that can become an absolute monster if he is molded by Bill Bedenbaugh at the collegiate level. I know Tyler Guyton wasn't as much of a basketball guy, but he has a basketball background, and it's not hard to see some parallels there. Cooper Hackett's only about 250 pounds right now, so he'll have some time to bulk up. But
He's
Tyler Guyton,
sophomore.
Yeah, Tyler Guyton was another guy that coming out of the high school ranks, was a little bit underdeveloped, right? He only had 2 college offers. One of them, obviously, which is where he went, was TCU. But he didn't even start out playing offensive tackle. He started out playing tight end. But he was 6'7". And you could tell just with his wingspan and the natural athleticism that was present there that if he had somebody like Bill Bedenbaugh, well, and also Jerry Schmidt, to bulk him up and sharpen his technique, he could be very, very good.
Eric in the OC, and I love this question.
Oh, gosh.
Can he play tight end?
I'm sure he can.
I'm positive he probably could.
I'm sure he can. Maybe they can invent a new position for him. Tight tackle. They can use that kind of like that.
I don't know how I feel about that, but
maybe they can incorporate him. Because, I mean, TCU did that with Guyton in 2021. They had him play a little bit of tight end, play a little bit of offensive tackle.
Mm-hmm.
But, no, I mean, you're bringing Cooper Hackett to town to be your next first-round pick at left tackle.
And, you know, we were talking about this in the 1 o'clock hour, how we projected Arch Manning right.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at Cooper Hackett, yes, he's a sophomore in high school. You can project him to be the next great one at the tackle position.
Mm-hmm.
People like him don't come around every year.
Certainly not in Fort Gibson, Oklahoma, either.
That too.
Well, man, has there been a Fort Gibson Sooner since Teddy? You guys are going to have to let me know on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line because, I mean, Teddy was what, class of 99 or class of 2000? One of those two. I mean, like, I was born in 1999. So I haven't been around nearly as long as some of y'all. I don't have such vivid memories of those teams of the early 2000s, even on into the early 2010s, right? I couldn't go down and list every single guy that was on the roster. I know there are some of you out there that can. So have there been any Fort Gibson Sooners since Teddy Lehman? Let me know. If we don't get definitive word, I'll just ask Teddy once the show's over. But
here we go again. 3-star Porter's nemesis. He'll get him on the Devon Mitchell weight plan. He'll be up to 330 by the end of the month.
Oh, there you go. Gunny knows Teddy was class of 99. There you go. So, yeah, the year I was born. The year I was born.
Damn, I wasn't even born yet.
Mm-hmm. So, any Fort Gibson Sooners since the class of 99? Let me know on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line, 405-651-3439. We'll come back and continue talking OU football and crootin' with all of you on the other side. Keep it here on the Ref, the home of Sooner fans.
Coach Stoops here for Van Hoos Fence. If you want to work with the best local fence company and get championship service, contact my friend Mark and the Van Hoos Fence team. Van Hoos Fence gives each customer the most professional craftsmanship and competitive pricing in Oklahoma. From wood to chain link to vinyl to metal fences, the Van Hoos Fence team does it all. Contact the Fencing All-Americans at Van Hoos Fence, 405-735-1167 or vhfence.com.
Now that open enrollment for health care coverage has ended, there's still several options to consider that just might benefit you. Need to purchase your own health insurance? Confused about Medicare? Considering offering benefits to your employees? Call the agents at Allison Insurance, featuring 70-plus years of combined insurance business experience. They're able to help clients avoid mistakes when purchasing individual or group health insurance. Call Allison Insurance at 800-580-5587 or 745-2968. They are the experts.
Make it rain this April at Riverwind Casino.
With big wins and even bigger jackpots. Enjoy the sweet smell of money in the non-smoking oasis.
Get hyped on nearly 3,000 of your favorite electronic games.
Become a legend in the high-stakes lounge.
And get rewarded like the VIP you are when you use your wild card.
Hit nothing but net with the $80,000 Spring Spins and Wins giveaway.
So thunder up and win like a champion, only at Riverwind.
Ever wonder why someone would go to the ends of the earth and leap into the unknown? Maybe a better question is, what are you waiting for? Pacifico is brewed for those who follow their own path. That's living life anchors up.
What's up, Ref Army? It's Dusty Dvorak. Do you eat, sleep, and breathe football? KREF is the only place for the most comprehensive daily analysis of Sooner and college football. Catch me every Tuesday and Wednesday during the 10 a.m. hour of The Plank Show as I cut it up with Plank and Josh about everything in the world of Sooner and college football. That's every Tuesday and Wednesday on The Plank Show, and there's only one place to hear it. The Ref, the home of Sooner fans. Download the KRF app today to listen from anywhere.
This is Peggy Doviak, and I opened DM Wealth Management because of a horrible experience that my mother had with a stockbroker. I wanted to give people an alternative, a place they could go to understand their money, to know why investment decisions were made the way they were, and to create a financial plan that would help them meet their goals. Most of all, I wanted to help them plan their prosperity. Call me at 405-329-8884 or dmwealth.com.
Hey, Sooner fans, we've got you covered. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year.
No, we don't get a break.
This is the home of Sooner fans.
The Red Sports Radio Network.
Looking for a fun and adventurous way to spend the summer? Join the Sooner Theater for an unforgettable summer camp experience. The Sooner Theater has 2-week, half-day sessions for students entering kindergarten through 6th grade. Whether your child loves acting, dancing, singing, or magic, these camps have something for everyone. With sessions in June and July, your child can explore creativity, make new friends, and have a blast performing on stage for friends and family. Don't miss out. Sign up now for summer full of fun and adventure through the performing arts. Visit SoonerTheater.org to learn more and register today.
Fowler Automotive is proud to be a part of your community, where our passion and values lie far beyond the showroom. We believe that families, sports, art, and culture are at the heart of every thriving community, and it's important to us that we help build the communities that our dealerships call home. Stop by any of our 6 Oklahoma dealerships to see the Fowler Standard hard at work. We pride ourselves on being friendly, helpful, honest, and fair. This is what drives us every day. Fowler Automotive, a proud partner of OU Athletics.
Oh no, Grayson.
Oh no, Parker.
There is beef proliferating. Percolating, perhaps, is the more appropriate word. Are you familiar with the luminary that is Cordell Landers?
Heard the name, not familiar.
Yes, you have heard the name, and I'll tell you why. He is Dominic Williams' handler.
Oh, this should be good.
Yes, he was a central figure last April when Oklahoma was recruiting Dominic Williams.
I also hate this word handler. I don't know why. It just makes it seem like...
Don't get me started. I hate it too.
Okay. I'm glad you're with it. Because it just makes it seem like you're like a circus act or something. You know what I'm saying?
Correct. Apparently, Cordell Landers, who is tied in with Nico Iamaleava's camp, went on Twitter. This tweet must have just been deleted because I saw it with my own 2 eyes, but now I can't find it.
Did you not screenshot it?
I did not screenshot it. I wasn't counting on it getting deleted. Cordell Landers went at Pete Nakos and On3 over their reporting of the negotiations that we mentioned last hour between Tennessee and Nico. He said, and I quote, "Pete Nakos is a liar." He went on to say, On3 Sports should fire you. You're lying to break a story first. Every time I see you lie, I'm going to expose you. So again, that tweet was very quickly deleted, but apparently there is now beef between Pete Nakos and On3 and Dominic Williams' handler Cordell Landers.
I don't know if that's one Cordell Landers is going to win. Pete Nakos is a very well-respected reporter.
You can't fight a machine that large generally
and
win. But yeah, so there's that. That's a nice new little wrinkle in the whole Nico saga. 3-Star Porter's nemesis might have screenshotted it. Yes, look, he has the screenshot. We'll read it. At Pete Nakos is a liar. You did the same thing with at Dominic Williams. On3 Sports should fire you. You lying to break a story that doesn't even exist. I wish you was right on this one, but you're not. Every time I catch you in a lie, I'm going to expose you. Boom. I have no idea what is truth versus fiction in this whole ordeal. I do not cover Tennessee football. I do not deal with agents or handlers as a general rule. It's just too much BS for me. But yeah, apparently that's happening.
Also on the text line, going back to our Fort Gibson question, Bourdain, I hope I pronounced that right, from the Osage. I hope I pronounced that one right, too.
Bodine from the Osage.
Bodine from the Osage. There we go. I coached at a school that played against Fort Gibson. He was a bad, bad man. The kid could fly. He also played tailback. If he got past the second level, no one could catch him. And he was talking about Teddy. One of the reasons that text caught my eye is because of the previous text Bourdain sent us. His last text into the show was on January the 27th at 2:45, which would have been our show. And the text reads as follows. Hitler was a vegan. Which makes me wonder, Parker Thune.
That dude
what the hell were we talking about on January the 27th?
I don't have a clue. But that man typed those words on January 27th. He typed the words, Hitler was a vegan, and then peaced out for 2 months plus.
2 months.
Glad you're doing okay, Bodine. Michael from Logan County on the text line says, can you talk about the rumors of the injury bug hitting OU again? Well, there aren't there are no rumors. The injury bug hit OU again. I mean, this wasn't on my radar. But when we showed up to practice yesterday, noticed that Nigel Smith was in a scooter.
Yeah, saw that.
I guess he either already has undergone a cleanup procedure or will undergo a cleanup procedure, as I understand. Nothing severe, nothing substantial, but it's another guy on the shelf right now for Oklahoma. And, you know, we spent a lot of time earlier in the week discussing the whole Giovanni Gibson situation, but I think that is the preeminent concern right now from an injury standpoint for fans of the Oklahoma football program is Giovanni Gibson going to be okay? Is he going to be able to play in the 2025 season and make an impact? Because, I mean, as we saw with a guy like Jalil Farouk last year, just because you can play, just because you get right midseason from the injury doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be able to make the same productive dent that you did before or were expected to before. So I think it's fair to say expectations probably need to be tempered a little bit with regard to Giovanni Gibson and what he himself is going to be able to provide to Oklahoma, because the expectations were going through the roof throughout much of spring. But coming off an injury of that severity, probably don't want to count on him being an A1 type dude in the Oklahoma offense. I have no doubt he'll contribute. I have no doubt he'll make some stuff happen when he gets back on the field, if he gets back on the field in 2025, because then the other thing you have to weigh is, well, do you just redshirt him? Do you not even bother with it? You not even bother trying to bring him back? Like, let's say the rehab drags into November, Grayson. Do you feel strongly enough that he's going to make a meaningful impact that you want to bring him back, as opposed to just telling him, hey, shut it down, come back better next year? Because we saw Jalil Farouk and Deion Burks both try to come back at season's end last year. Towards the end of the regular season, they were both active for the Missouri game, which was the first time they'd been active in a month plus in each of their cases. And they weren't right. Neither of them were.
And Deion Burks got his head taken off, and Jalil Farouk lasted, 2 seconds?
Mm-hmm. I think he was targeted twice before he left the field once again and didn't return. A 405 listener asks, would it be valid to question the strength and conditioning program considering one position group is most affected? Again, if you feel like you have got to have a common denominator, then, yeah, I would say probably the strength and conditioning staff is the one thing you're going to point the finger at, because that's the most logical common denominator if you're trying to draw one. But that feels eisegetical, you know? Feels like you're trying to make there be a common denominator. Mm-hmm. When, again, like I've said many times this week, I genuinely don't think there is one. I would love to be able to point the finger at one thing or one person or one group of people, and I don't really feel like I can.
And the reason you can't is because that sort of thing would show up in a lot of soft tissue injuries. Now, granted, there have been a decent amount of soft tissue injuries, but you can't blame it for Andrew Anthony never being right after his injury, because that was a torn ACL that he suffered in a game. You can't blame it for Giovanni Gibson because he literally broke his freaking leg. That generally is not a result of, breakdown from strength and conditioning. The one common denominator, though, Parker, is that the rehabs after these injuries have been so incredibly wonky that you can point to the medical staff. I think that's the only common denominator in that you can question right now is the medical staff. And why are these rehabs dragging on so long and so long? Why have we had guys having to have all these cleanup procedures? Why have they – I mean, it seems like these timetables to return have literally been handkerchief over the eyes, throw a dart at a dartboard when it comes to these timetables for return. So I think that's the common denominator, but that's the rehab. That's not really why they're getting hurt. So, I mean, to your point again, we've tried all we could, and there really is no common denominator except this is just a bad stroke of luck.
Do we want to dig into transfer portal options at wide receiver? We talked a lot about this yesterday. I've got some more clarity on the Trajan Bridges situation. By the way, if you want the full 411 on that situation, OUinsider.com is the place to be right now and all year, because we're feeding you OU intel, the likes of which you will simply not get anywhere else. But the two names that we talked about most yesterday were Terrell Davis, the UCO transfer, and of course, Trajan Bridges, who would be a retread addition for Oklahoma. Been at OU before, got dismissed from the team in 2021. He's played JUCO. He's been at Central Arkansas since then. So the additional clarity that I have on the Trajan Bridges deal, among a lot of information, other information that is posted up for members at OUinsider.com, is that, and I feel dumb for not having considered this, but it's the truth, and it makes perfect sense that this is and would be the case. Trajan Bridges right now is out of eligibility. He is technically out of eligibility because, and let me explain this, because there's a very common misconception with the Diego Pavia ruling. The misconception is that the implication of the ruling in the Pavia case is that any student athlete that has played at the junior college level automatically gets those years back added to their eligibility. That's not the case. With regard to that case, all that case did, the only explicit ruling in that case was that Diego Pavia himself gets the year that he spent in JUCO back. Now, obviously it creates a legal precedent such that any player that has played junior college can challenge for more eligibility and in all likelihood receive it. But it does not mean that automatically any and all players that play JUCO at any point get that eligibility back. You still have to go and apply for that eligibility to be reinstated. So Trajan Bridges is in the process of doing that. But as it stands right now, there is and has not been any resolution in that regard. And so he can't enroll anywhere until he has his eligibility officially reinstated. I don't feel like, based on the conversations I've had in the last 24 hours, I'm leaning more in the direction of this whole thing not happening between Oklahoma and Trajan Bridges, because that's obviously one hurdle. There would be some administrative hurdles because of his past and Oklahoma's involvement in all of that. And so I think the more likely of the two that we discussed yesterday is Terrell Davis. OU is interested in Terrell Davis. Are they going to go full speed ahead and try to bring him to Norman? I think it would make sense, but I also would certainly understand if the program and the coaching staff just wanted to sit back and wait for a little while and see what other options present themselves in the portal. Terrell Davis is a D2 guy, never played higher than D2. He's got 1 year of eligibility left. You can do a lot worse, but it's also fair to wonder whether you can do better, right?
That's fair. And that's you dropped a lot there. I'm with you even before you said you added the qualifier of conversations that you've had. After hearing that and the legal hurdles that this guy have to go through, I don't think, because when you're bringing back a guy with the past of a Trajan Bridges, you want that process of bringing him back to be as smooth as possible and not present any kind of inconvenience for you when you're dealing with a guy with his past. Given that you're going to have to wait on that, and Lord knows how long that's going to draw out, I think that in and of itself probably disqualifies that scenario from actually coming true. Now, here's the thing with the wide receiver as it pertains to Terrell Davis. Not to be confused with Terrell Davis. There are wide receivers all over the country. Wide receiver is a position that you will always be in a surplus of, which makes the evaluation process tricky. However, you also don't need to overthink it. If there's a guy right down the street, all you have to ask yourself is, look, can he play? You've got wide receivers that can play. You got Deion Burks. You got Elijah Thomas who can make an impact. You got dudes. You're not looking for a dude to be a 1,200-yard receiver in the SEC. Can you get a dude that can play? And if they look at Terrell Davis and ask the question, can he play? And the answer is yes, go get him. Just make this as simple as possible. Make the ingratiation process as simple as possible. You're not going to be, transitioning between cultures or anything like that. I would go ahead and lock that down if the evaluations come back that say he can play.
Mm-hmm. And this is a good point from a 405 listener on the text line. Statistically, smaller school guys moving up have been more productive out of the portal than big school guys moving with no resume across the NCAA.
Fair point.
Yeah, odds are, you would be better advised to take a chance on a guy who's had 1,600 yards and 16 touchdowns at the D2 level than a guy who caught 5 passes for 80 yards at a P4 school. Right? One feels like a safer bet. But again, does Jim Nagy want to go full speed ahead on Terrell Davis? Or will there be a bit more patient approach here? Because I think if you look at the offers that Terrell Davis has announced to this point, and certainly I have no doubt he has offers that he hasn't announced, but all of the schools that he has publicly announced offers from are schools that Oklahoma drastically outflanks in terms of tradition and prestige and national respectability.
But you can't operate. I know we got to get out of here. But you can't operate like that. You can't operate on the premise of, well, he's not good enough for the guys that are that are at the same level as us, so he's not good for us. You can't operate like that.
No, you can't. And Oklahoma won't, certainly. They make their own evaluations, and they're never afraid to stand by them, right? A great example, and one that may pay dividends in the next couple of seasons, one that may start to pay dividends, that is Taylor Heim. When Oklahoma went and added Taylor Heim at the end of the 2023 cycle, the offers he was considering were Louisiana Tech, Ohio, Air Force, I want to say. It might have been multiple service academies. Taylor Heim didn't have any Power 4 offers outside of Oklahoma. But the Sooners liked him enough that they said, we're going to bring this dude in. Let's see what we got. And word this spring is that Taylor Heim has taken some major steps forward and might factor into the calculus for Oklahoma at linebacker this next season. Okay, final timeout of the 2 o'clock hour here. When we come back, we will wrap up Locked In with more of your texts and a few more nuggets. You're listening to The Ref, the home of Sooner fans. Keep it here.
This is Deion Burks, and you're listening to The Ref, the home of Sooner fans.
Ever wonder why someone would leave the roads they know for places they don't? Maybe a better question is, what are you waiting for? Pacifico is brewed for those who follow their own path. That's living life anchors up.
What are you waiting for? If you're anything like me, that question keeps you up at night. So don't wait for someone else's green light. Do the things you love right now at Moore Norman Tech. We'll get you out of the classroom and into the real world with hands-on experience in whatever feeds your fire. So get after it. Oklahoma needs more doers, and doers don't wait. Moore Norman Tech, powered by Oklahoma Career Tech.
No matter what a strong future looks like to you, you can start building it with a home equity line of credit from Armstrong Bank. There's no time like the present to take advantage of your home equity. From home renovations to wedding expenses, vacations to new cars, the future is yours with a HELOC from Armstrong Bank. Visit armstrong.bank/HELOC to get started. Armstrong Bank. Strength runs in our family. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
From the gridiron to the hardwood to the diamond, no one covers the Sooners like we do. If it's Sooner Sports, we have you covered 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. This is the home of Sooner fans.
At Confidence Ford of Norman, we believe in living up to our name. Our commitment to confidence is in everything we do. Whether you're searching for the perfect vehicle from our extensive selection of new Ford models or pre-owned cars, our dedicated team will help you every step of the way. Because with us, you're family. We're conveniently located at 825 North Interstate Drive. Confidence Ford of Norman, a Cavender Auto family dealership where confidence is Cavender.
Get hurt in a game? We tough it out. Feel exhausted? We push on. Feeling down? We pull ourselves up by the bootstraps. But there are times when bootstraps aren't enough. When stress gets to us and we need to talk to someone about what we're really going through. So we're going to reach out because sometimes mental health is not a one-person job. Visit loveyourmindtoday.org. That's loveyourmindtoday.org. Brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Institute and the Ad Council.
When you're high, you feel different. You think different, you talk different, you draw different, you listen to music different, but you probably knew that. Problem is, you also drive different, and not in a good way. That's why driving high is illegal everywhere. So if you're high, just don't drive. Make a plan to get a sober ride. Because if you feel different, you drive different. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
We all make choices about alcohol. Kids make choices whether to drink or not.
Bye, Dad. Remember, I'm going to Alex's party tonight and sleeping over.
Hey, remind me about that party again?
And adults make choices whether to talk about it. That's true of parents and every other trusted adult in a kid's life. Kids want to know our expectations, and they want honest answers in everyday conversations. So talk with your kids and help lead them on a positive path, because when you talk, they hear you. Learn more at underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
They say if you don't like the weather in Oklahoma, wait 5 minutes and check it again. Nope, not there yet. Ah, that's more like it. Being comfortable is important, and if it's -5 degrees or 100 degrees, Norman Air has you covered. Our impeccable quality and unbeatable service is what sets us apart from our competitors. It's just part of our mission to keep Oklahoma comfortable. Visit normanair.com for all your heating, air, plumbing, and electrical needs. Norman Air, service to the max.
Back with you here for one final segment here on Locked In. Parker Thune alongside Grayson Singleton. The Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line has been lighting up all day long. Grateful for all of your interactions over the course of the last 3 hours. Grayson and I have 3 hours together once again tomorrow because, of course, Steely will be sitting at home watching the second round of the Masters from the comfort of his luxurious manor. A 405 listener on the text line says, there are rumors that ultimate roster choices are now in Jim Nagy's hands and not the coaches. Any truth? Yeah, I mean, I believe we have discussed that on these airwaves. If we haven't, we will certainly discuss it now. Yes, Jim Nagy has the final say on all matters pertaining to the roster at Oklahoma. Jim Nagy is going to be the one that dictates ultimately who gets processed. He's going to be the one that dictates how many transfers Oklahoma takes and what positions Oklahoma prioritizes in the portal. If Nagy says you're only getting one portal receiver, Oklahoma's only going to take one portal receiver. If Nagy says, you know what, we need two, Oklahoma will go get two. Simple as that. He is the man when it comes to personnel now at the University of Oklahoma. He will have the ultimate authority on all of those matters. Brent Venables and the coaching staff, yeah, you know, like, they're going to have input in the process, especially when it pertains to recruiting, right? You're not going to recruit a kid that the position coach doesn't like, doesn't feel like he can develop, doesn't feel like fits his room at Oklahoma. But more so than ever before, Brent Venables and his staff are going to be handed the roster, and they're going to be told, go win with this roster.
The way you put that makes me pretty uneasy.
Why is that?
Well, here's the thing. Have you ever watched Hard Knocks?
Yes, very sparingly.
Okay. Have you ever seen the episodes where they are talking about how the cuts are made? And you see the collaboration between the position coaches and the head coaches, the GM's in there, the president's in there, and they're all in this room, and they've got this board up there, and they're trying to make it work to 53. That's not a situation where the head coach is handed the roster. And if this is going to be a situation where if it's here's your roster, and let's say the coach's input is 15%, 20%, which hopefully is not that low. Hopefully it's more collaborative than that. If it is that low, Jim Nagy can be a good GM all he wants. He can have the connections all he wants. That's a frightening scenario. I'm not saying it would go bad, but that's a little bit of a frightening scenario if that decision is made absent of all that collaboration that, like you see in a Hard Knocks, that goes on in the NFL.
That's a very valid, very legitimate concern. I would say I don't think there's going to be an absence of collaboration because that was something Nagy proactively addressed in his opening press conference when Oklahoma brought him on. He said, look, this can't work unless Brent and I collaborate very closely, unless we have a great working relationship that we can maintain. And so from everything that Jim Nagy has said, and, words are one thing, actions are another, it doesn't sound like Jim Nagy is just going to be operating as a lone ranger independently of Brent Venables' inputs and desires.
No, that's good. The football coach, he's the one on the field. Now, in terms of and also I do think too, here's why Jim Nagy and Brent Venables really have to be in lockstep here. Because the way Venables and his position coaches are going to go about deploying the players probably has a lot to do with how many players you need at a certain position. For insurance purposes. So you've got to have the ear of the coach in that. And look, if that is how they're going to go about it, by all means, looks like everything's going to be good. But if not, and Jim Nagy decides to go, for lack of a more astute word, AWOL here with this, that could present some problems.
And somebody, I think it was Glenn from Nashville, asked if we could clarify whether Nagy has the final say on the roster or the depth chart or both. Certainly not the depth chart. Certainly not the depth chart.
Oh, he shouldn't. He shouldn't be involved in that.
That is the coach's responsibility and always should be. Jim Nagy is responsible for the roster of 85. As far as which guys are playing, as far as which guys are seeing the field, the text line's going to love this. I'm going to go back to the movie Moneyball yet again. Grayson took off the headphones. He's walking out. No, but you there's a very iconic scene in the movie where Billy Beane, of course, Brad Pitt's character, the general manager, is having a spirited discussion with Philip Seymour Hoffman, who plays Art Howe, the Oakland Athletics manager, about the lineup. Billy Beane is the general manager. And look, general manager in baseball is one thing. General manager in college football is another thing. Not apples to apples comparison. But in the movie and in practice across Major League Baseball, the general manager is not setting the lineup. That is the manager's job. And Art Howe, Philip Seymour Hoffman, makes it very, very clear in that conversation, it is my job to put 9 on the field. You give me the roster, I set the lineup. And that's kind of how it's going to be at Oklahoma. Now, ultimately, Billy Beane undermines Art Howe because Art Howe has the first baseman, Carlos Pena, that he wants in the starting lineup, and Billy trades him away so that he has no choice but to play the first baseman, Scott Hatteberg, that Billy Beane wants in the starting lineup.
And also, by the way, just to give an NBA analogy, hopefully it catches on to some of you, this is what's going on with the Nuggets, which is why they fired their coach a couple of days ago. And when you bring a GM into the equation, with the kind of power that Jim Nagy is going to have, you know what can happen sometimes? The GM wants their handpicked guys on the field.
Mm-hmm.
The guy that they saw is like, oh, I like him. Especially Nagy as a former scout too. Don't underestimate that too.
Yep.
And what he's gonna have some kind of an ego about his scouting prowess. And that's all good and fine. That's not an attack on anybody's character. People have egos when they get established in a certain business.
Yep.
But if he has a guy and he's like, I need him on the field, and Brent's like, no, he either doesn't fit yet or he's not ready yet, but Jim thinks he is. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. That can turn into a cluster, you know what, very fast.
Sean's got the line on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. There it is. The lineup card is mine, Billy.
Yeah.
Bingo. Rest in peace, Philip Seymour Hoffman. A 918 listener says, so if the season doesn't go well, who gets the blame, GM or head coach? You know the answer to that question. If the season doesn't go well, everyone gets blamed. Everyone gets blamed. Name me one single individual that was not the target of criticism to some extent last season when Oklahoma went 6-7. One individual on that coaching staff that everybody across the board, amidst it all, acknowledged, no, you know what, they're doing a good job.
I'll give you one. I'll give you the answer. It's probably Zach Alley, and he's not even here anymore.
Yep. And even he, like at the time, even if you weren't criticizing his coaching, people were certainly criticizing his recruiting.
Okay, fair.
When the season doesn't go well, everyone gets blamed. It is shared blame all the way around. That is always how it's going to be at the University of Oklahoma. Who gets the blame? The answer isn't one person. It is everyone. Porter's Nemesis on the text line says, for anyone who hasn't listened to Teddy and Gabe's latest podcast, Jim Nagy is on there and does a really good job breaking down what his evaluation process is and how he will go about grading them. That's what you hire a general manager to do.
Absolutely.
Identify the talent and go acquire it. You get the talent, it's the coach's job to develop it. And again, by no means am I insinuating that the coaches are not going to have input, not going to have say in who the program recruits. They certainly will. But if Jim Nagy doesn't like a guy, that guy ain't coming to the University of Oklahoma. The veto power belongs to Jim Nagy. That's that.
I think that's the best way you've put it right there.
Mm-hmm.
Is that he does have ultimate veto power.
A 405 listener says, how is Nagy going to have final say? He's not on the field coaching every day over who gets cut and who they keep. He may not be on the field coaching, but Jim Nagy is on the practice field every day. Make no mistake, it's not as if when Oklahoma is out there on the practice field, Jim Nagy is just chilling up there in his office with a bag of Chips Ahoy. Every single practice of the spring thus far, Jim Nagy has been present at.
I mean, especially if he's going to have this much say on the roster, he would be derelict in his duties to not be.
Do you remember, and I imagine many, if not all of you, watched Jim Nagy's introductory press conference. Do you remember what he said about his very first objectives at Oklahoma? There were two of them. He said his very first objectives are making additional hires for the Oklahoma front office, which they're in the process of making more. They brought on Taylor Redd as assistant GM. They're working on more, from what I'm told. But the other objective was learning Oklahoma's roster. Learning all 105 players, or whatever the actual number is right now, that make up the current machine at the University of Oklahoma. Because you can't make informed decisions about your roster until you have a very, very strong sense of what you're looking at with every single individual in that locker room.
1,000% agree. I mean, he's got to know. And which makes this interesting, and also which also goes back to my point a couple of days ago that I don't know what the Jim Nagy effect is going to be. I don't know if we'll know what it is until after this season. Maybe even into the portal window of the winter, because he just got here with the roster.
We got a lot of time to talk about it. many weeks, many months to come. And we'll continue to do that starting tomorrow afternoon at 2 p.m. when we are right back on these airwaves. Well, I guess Grayson and I will be back at 12 together with Steely out. So we hope all of you will tune in with us tomorrow afternoon. I'll be out at Riverwind Casino. Stay tuned here on The Ref. Up next, Teddy Lehman will confirm whether he was class of 99 or class of 2000 alongside Tyler McComas when The Rush kicks off. You're listening to the Home of Sooner Fans.